This program was brought to you by Organo Gold. Organo Gold is a health and wellness company that provides healthy coffees, teas, and chocolate. All one has to do is consume the available coffee, teas, chocolate, and other products to get all the available benefits. One can also share these products with others to help them improve their health as well.
And now, Fairfax Breakfast Club with your host, Besile Lemba.
Welcome to the Fairfax Breakfast Club show. My name is Besile Lemba and I will be your host. The Fairfax Breakfast Club is a weekly program in which we bring to you valuable and workable know-how you can use to improve your networking skills and grow your business. We always start the show with a quote. And today's quote is, "Financial freedom is available to those who learn about it and work for it." And that is from Robert Kiyosaki. With us today in the studio, we have a financial planner, I would say a financial planning specialist, someone who helps people handle money so they or people they know or love are no longer worried about money. He is with First Financial Group, and his name is Randy Jones. Hello, Randy.
Hello, Besile. How are you today?
Good, how about you?
Very good.
We're glad to have you because there's different aspects, a section in life. Mm-hmm. And one of them, a big one, is finances. But I think you'll agree that as big as it is, we don't have enough education in that arena.
Correct.
And therefore, we suffer the consequences of not being well educated in finances.
All right.
Does that ring true?
Yes. I think probably what is most surprising is the world of finance is so wide and so deep. It's like the ocean. Mm-hmm. And so many people enter it from different ports of call. Mm-hmm. And it really doesn't make a difference how people generate their income, having the right advice of how they should handle it once they receive it, or what is the best way to make sure that they're efficiently using it for the benefit of themselves, their families, as well as others, mm-hmm. is really important. And I think historically there's just lots of people who sort of have taken finance as a trial and error approach to how they should handle their money. So what I do is help clarify that. I take complex situations and really simplify them so you can have the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s of what you should do now, what you should do next, and what you should keep doing for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. How do you go about it?
There's a saying, they say, prescription without diagnosis is like malpractice. And so,
well, that makes sense, right? You got to find out what the problem is first.
Exactly. So what we do with our clients, we sit down and have a conversation with them. What's probably most interesting about the approach that I do with my clients is I want all of my clients to eventually be able to answer the question, if money weren't an issue, what would they do for someone else? Because I do believe that money is really important, but most people, see their money as an obstacle, not an asset for the things that they want to achieve. Mm-hmm. So keeping them focused on, I guess you could say, beginning with the end in mind is most important. Being able to give them a vision to follow. Without a vision, we don't have a real destination of what we can do, and finance can just be lots of numbers. So a lot of times when I have a client, we first establish, where are we going? Where are we going as a family? Where are we going as a person, an individual? And then we start to strap on how do the numbers affect the path that we're trying to follow. So it's a lot of fact-finding of, who they are as people, mm-hmm. how they manage, and what's their financial background. And what I mean by that, how have they managed money and how have their families managed money prior to sitting down with me? Mm-hmm. Because if I make the assumption that everybody has the same interpretation of what financial planning is, then a lot of times, I would be making a mistake. So I often will ask the question, if money weren't an issue, what would you do for someone else? And that sort of makes people sort of lay back a little bit and smile and then think, well, I've never thought of my life being in a situation that money would never be an issue. So that's the first step that we do. And then, taking it step by step, giving them action steps that they can see immediate satisfaction and an immediate gratitude with what they do, as well as seeing that the big picture always stays right in the forefront of their minds.
Now, let me ask you this. When you ask that question, if money and finance was not an issue, what would you do for others? What people tell you the most? What answers are you getting? Are they so varied as people? Or?
Truthfully, everyone in their heart, they want to help somebody else.
Interesting.
And usually when I ask that question, you can see them sort of drift off into a dream like, I would buy my mother a house, or, I would make sure that my kids and my brother's kids could go to school, or, I would like to give a lot of money to my church. I would like to, volunteer more with a nonprofit. I would like to build homes for the homeless. People genuinely are really great in their heart. And so when I hear those answers, that becomes my marching orders. So when we're talking about, saving 10 or 20 or 30% of your gross income, and what are the steps that we need to do, how do we find the money, where is it coming from, and what you should be doing with it. When you get off track and you say, well, life has gotten in the way, I usually bring them back and say, you remember, and I documented, I said, you remember these were the answers that you said you would do if money weren't an issue. This is why we're doing it. Because really saving money is really not fun. People would rather just live their life and spend their money. And I sort of give them strategies. I said, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll spend your way to wealth. And that's really about paying attention to where every dollar goes, because every dollar in your life has a job description. We just want to define it in our time together. And so when I answer that question,
you can get that again. Translate that again. I guess I'm afraid that is very deep.
every dollar.
You spend your way to wealth. Can you explain that? That's deep.
Spend your way to wealth. So a lot of times when people are trying to start with a financial plan, we start in the very beginning, and it doesn't make a difference if you make multi-million dollars or if you're just starting out from college or however. We talk about every dollar that you have has a job description. And people look at their life when it comes to spending money that we have budgets. And I say, well, budget is a negative way of looking at your money. It's chasing your debt. It's like, here's how much I owe and how much do I need. And how much you owe, you'll never catch it. You'll always have more at the end of the month that you owe than what you have to cover it. And what I try to change my clients' mind is giving them a paradigm shift. We need a spending plan. We need to set limits. So if you make $100,000, how do you live off of $75,000? That means that you have to spend in a certain way so that you'll have the excess. Because truly, if people could live to 100 years old and you can retire at 60 or 65, that could be 35, 40 years. You could actually be living longer in retirement without a paycheck than you did with one while you're working. And what are we doing today that's preparing us for tomorrow? And so a lot of times people don't really have that, serious conversation of how they're going to get there. And even when I talk to business owners, they say, well, my business is going to be my retirement plan. And I then pose to them, well, who's going to buy your business? Somebody's going to buy it. And I say, well, you ever sold anything at a yard sale and wanted $5 and somebody's nickel and dime you down to $2? I said, the day that you want the money, usually that's not when everybody wants to pay. And so having a plan is really important in making sure that a person is prepared to be able to do the things that they want to do. I want to remove all of the obstacles that finance presents in a person's life so they truly can get to that goal of answering the question.
Okay. Now, I have a question. Now, being that this is by definition a business show, how can you help a business? How can you help a business owners?
Well,
what is approach in helping a business owner?
Typically, when I sit down with business owners, they're busy being busy, And from my experience, I have a team of about 11 advisors at my company. We have about 95 advisors, but on my team we have 11 business advisors. And what we do, when I sit down with the business owner, I do ask them that question. But from what I see, business owners lose money in 4 places, usually in their HR and payroll areas, their group benefits, corporate documentation like the partnership agreements, as well as taxes. So here's an example. In today's market, interest rates are for homes around 3.5% to 4%. And if you had an interest rate on your house of 9%, what would you do? Refinance. You'd refinance to lower it. So what I do is refinance a business owner's finance everywhere that they spend money. And all of the advice that they get from different advisors, they usually get it in silos. Silos, meaning that if they're talking to their accounting firm, they're only talking about whatever that accounting firm does for them as an accountant. If they're talking to their attorney, they're talking about just their legal documents. If they're talking to their insurance broker, they're just talking about what they're getting as far as health benefits. If they're talking to, their HR and payroll services, they're only talking about that. So what I do for a business owner is I consolidate all of that information. I find the money that all of their advisors individually or collectively are leaving on the table, and then I give it back to them to expand and grow their companies as well as to enjoy their families and their lives.
Okay, let's stop there. Do you mean then your company, your approach is comprehensive?
Yes.
Whereas you take care of the HR, the insurance, the accountant, the lawyer aspect, so that is much more of brought together, consolidated.
Right.
So you get a complete picture, not just a bit and piece, and which might be affecting one another.
Right. I think what really makes our approach unique is that I'm okay with you keeping your advisors. I just say, let's get them in here one at a time or get them in here all together and see how they're all going to be working together for the benefit of you.
More coordinated effort.
Right. Correct. Because none of them are talking to each other.
True.
And so I make sure that happens. And here's the number one thing that most people have not had in a conversation with their advisor. Most advisors talk about how they can grow your money, what rates of returns and things, and where they can place money, even if you're extremely successful. But retirement is not about assets. It's about income. So what we focus on is income strategies and income distributions. What's the most efficient way for you to spend your money, to access your money, without, one, having Uncle Sam take all of it, two, dumping it on your kids or somebody else unnecessarily, or three, putting it in places that create, unnecessary risks that can have you lose the money that you work so hard for. So what we do is, in that same approach, from a numbers standpoint, we talk about the income first, of what is the income going to look like based on what you're currently doing. And then we give you strategies to improve it. As a matter of fact, I say to a business owner, what we'll do is most likely able to show you how you can increase your net worth $3 to $5 million over your working years, which could be an extra 30 or 40% in net income during retirement. A lot of times, if you have a $10 million company, and sell it, that can equate to roughly about $160,000 in income during retirement. And usually most business owners say, well, shucks, if I've grown it to $10 million, $100,000 won't do me any bit,
But 160, like in one lump sum or each and every month, or what are we talking about?
Annually. Because
but that's not a lot.
It is not a lot. So if you think about this, when you have a lump sum of money and you've grown it and you get to retirement, right? How long does that money have to last you?
It's supposed to last forever.
For the rest of your life. So we can't just go ahead and spend our money right away and draw off our income that we were doing while we were working. We have to sort of live off the interest. And in today's economy, in today's interest rate, you can roughly draw off about 2.8% interest off of your principal amount that you've saved or worked or grown. And if we invest
that's the highest you can get? 2.8%?
Without eroding the principal, because I don't know how long you're going to live. If you can live to 100, shucks, I need to make sure that the money is there. So if we invest it, let's just say conservatively, you can pull 4% off. So if for every $1 million, you're going to pull off $40,000 income, and then that's going to be taxed. Now, a lot of people think that they're going to be in a lower tax bracket later on in life. But because of the deductions that you have for your kids, the deductions that you have for your business, the deductions that you have for your, your home, your actual effective tax bracket is lower than the, your current marginal tax bracket. Not to get too technical, but what do you think taxes will do in the future? Go up or go down?
Oh, guaranteed.
So most likely people in the future, and I say to a business owner, do you think you're going to, in the future, be less successful? Are we on that track, or are we looking in the future to be more successful? They say more successful. So when it comes time to retire, most likely with taxes being up and you being more successful, you're going to be in at least the same or a higher tax bracket. So that's why strategies of minimizing, reducing tax liabilities, maximizing the income that you can access, learning how to access the equity in your companies without violating, if you're a government contracting company, any of your, regulations for GSA or your 8A status or your, disabled service veteran status or anything like that. We give them specific strategies and action steps. And because you're busy running your business, we work with your advisors and say, okay, here are the things that we need to do, because I want everybody to be efficient for you. And that's what that comprehensive coordinator approach does. So a lot of times when we're sitting down with the business owner, the first thing that we say is, who's your point of contact for your accountant? Who's the point of contact for your HR? And then get me your partnership agreements. Because a lot of times what people don't realize, in most partnership agreements, it talks about what happens if I fall out of love with my partner, become sick or disabled, or sometimes it unexpectedly pass. Or what do I do when I want to sell my company? How do I get my money out of it and I still have partners? A lot of times people have these boilerplate type agreements and nobody's really structured. How does that get funded? We want to close the holes in your plan. I want you to focus on what you do well, and I make sure that it can last today, tomorrow, and forever, or at least as long as you want it to. So that process and taking people through that transition is really eye-opening. Sometimes you can get into the minutia, and a lot of times when people are successful and they say, well, give me $1 million and I can put it in a hedge fund, or I can put it in some type of investment. That's almost like you working hard to bake the cake, and I show up and say, how about I take it out of the oven, Anybody can do that.
And you watch me eat it.
Right, exactly. And then I tell you, see what a great job I did? I think when it comes to helping people successful, individuals, and especially business owners, when they make a lot of money, their mistakes cost way more than the average person.
Makes sense.
To lose $100, shucks, who wants to do that? But to lose $100 million, I can make you pull down the shades and say, I just don't want to come out of the house today. So helping my clients navigate the world of finance while they're doing what they specialize in, growing their business, and then making the promise of, oh, we can get you this rate of return. Nobody can promise you, time the market. But I say to a business owner, if I found $100,000 or $200,000 in your business, would it be better that I put it in the market, or would it be better to give it to you because you probably believe and invested in you and your company? That rate of return that you can get on yourself is way better than what the market can do, because we don't know the market. We can't predict the market.
You can control it.
Right. But if you're successful, we can predict what you're going to do. You're going to continue to grow, expand, and do the things that you do. A lot of companies, when they come to us, they're like, we'd like to buy another company. So some of our partners are mergers and acquisitions companies, where we will structure what is the best way to evaluate the companies that you want to purchase, even what is the best way to evaluate your company that you want to sell, people who are trying to exit. Because some people say, I just like to spend more time with my family. How do I get out of this with the lion's share of my money? And I say, great, we'll look at it and figure out how do we do it. And then after we help a client accumulate, and after we create a plan that gives you efficient distribution or maximizing your income, how do we make sure that your family is taken care of? Not just your lifetime, not just the next generation, but generation after generation. How do we make sure that that lasts? Because we don't want to just dump money on people. We sort of want to give them their own acorns so they can grow their own oak trees.
Absolutely.
Abraham Lincoln said the worst thing you could do for somebody else is what they could do for themselves.
Give that to me again.
Abraham Lincoln said the worst thing that we can do for our children is what they could do for themselves.
So they should do it themselves.
They should do it themselves. We don't want to hinder them from growing.
Yeah,
you know.
Yes, yeah.
And a lot of times I'll sit with clients and say, I don't want to leave that much money with my clients, with my kids. And I say, well, why do we have to? And I don't give my opinion unless they ask, because I want to give non-biased advice to make sure that people have the options to do whatever it is that they do. I just move the obstacles. But I said, is that truly what you want to do? Is that you want your kids to start from square one? I want my kids to work hard too. And so a lot of the things that we do when it comes to structuring the legal documents, wills and trust and things like that, because anybody who has a financial plan and does not have legal documents, they have wasted their time. Because all you're doing is building an empire for Uncle Sam and others to take advantage of when you're not here to do it. But a lot of what we do is more about living today, not, worrying about what happens if I'm not here. But we want to make sure that when we give you a plan, it covers every aspect and every stage of your life. So that's really important. When we sit down with business owners and they understand that we're truly looking at how do they continue to do what they do more efficiently. And I say to them, if I can show you how we can recapture, 15, 20% in taxes, because a lot of times that's what they're really upset about. They're not really focused on the market. They're like, I paid $190,000 in taxes. I paid $340,000 in taxes. There's got to be a way that I can recapture some of that. And so we do that by building different income vehicles within their companies so that when they want to exit their companies or move on to their next venture, they can do it with the majority of their money.
Very good. Now, let me ask you a question referring to the Breakfast Club. You have attended the Breakfast Club. Why don't you give a fine audience over here your opinion on Breakfast Club, the experience about it?
I go to a lot of different networking events because, of course, especially business to business, that's where I meet other business owners and I'm able to, understand what their needs are, keep my ear to the ground as far as the business community. But when I went to your networking group, the Breakfast Club, it wasn't just a gathering. It gave insight to how we can truly benefit each other. And one of the things that you said was that, oftentimes people will collect cards and oftentimes you'll meet this person and that person, but you clearly, that education moment that says, here is how you take the next steps when you leave here. This is how you get things done. Here's how you execute on that introduction that you had. And here's how we continue to grow. One thing that it was really unique about the Breakfast Club was that 50% of the attendees are new people all the time, which that means that you're not just having a meeting because I don't need another meeting, but to be in an area where you meet, you have a continuous influx of new ideas, new people, new business opportunities, new connections. That's what networking was supposed to be about. A lot of times people go to networking, and I've been in other groups and other meetings where they're looking to see what they can get out of the group. But the people that come to the Breakfast Club meeting are looking to see what they can give to the group. Some people say giving is living,
That's true, makes sense. Yeah.
And I think, when you build partnerships, if I can find one client and give it to 5 or 6 people and build a one-to-one relationship with each one of those people as a partner who are naturally in my business cycle, for everyone that I give, then 5 come back to me. So I really work hard to build relationships with different partners to see how is it that we can leverage each other's expertise, energy, and time to get things done. And that Breakfast Club was a phenomenal opportunity to do that. I've built some great relationships, and I even use some of the services because I believe that when you build a partnership, truly to be a partner, we should be able to work with each other. Some people don't like that, but that's just like working somewhere and not believing in the product that you produce. True. If I'm going to recommend you to a client of mine, then why wouldn't I work with you?
And also, the point is support.
Right.
We support one another.
Right. You know what it reminded me of? It was like you got in there, and because the way and the energy that the people had, it was like forming your own board of directors.
I never thought about it that way.
That you could actually say to your clients, I think I have a solution for that. Because building those type of relationships when you're meeting a new client and the client has a need that you don't provide, when you can find people that create that type of synergy, then they can be a resource for your client as well as a building block for you in your own business. And so that's what I looked at. I said, this is a great way to form a board of directors for any client that I have. And there are just a lot of diverse. I would tell anybody, and I've told many people that, they should definitely come to that. It's time well spent.
Yeah, definitely. We design it something that the difference between the Breakfast Club and the other event is we sat down and figured out what is that the guests want.
Right.
When they come to the door.
Right.
Because the difference to other events, generally the guy who put it on or the person, the organization who put it on has an agenda.
Right.
They go ahead and execute that agenda. When the guests come in, he's looking for something, they never meet.
Right. Right.
You see? So we say, what is that the guest wants? So we put it in. So when it's come,
right.
they meet.
And you know what? What breaks up, because you have the learning portion of it, you have the presentation portion of it, and then you have the speed networking, because just in that time period, just with what we're doing and the people that you're meeting at your table, when you're able to do the speed networking, that gives you an opportunity to meet the other people in that same time period. It is extremely efficient. And I think with business owners, they really just don't want to waste time. Nobody wants another opportunity. People are only looking for results. And the same way that I provided in my business, you provided it in that Breakfast Club.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, Randy Jones.
Thank you so much.
Just so you get information, folks, on our Breakfast Club, it is on our website, which is blnbc.com. The next one is on March 26th. And the expo, we'll also have Randy at our expo, by the way, on May 22nd, and that will be at the Stacy Sherwood Community Center. We have about 100 exhibitors there, we're expecting 300 to 400 business people. You are all welcome. We're looking forward to having you with us right there. I want to thank you very much, Randy, for all your information.
No problem.
As I said at the beginning, finance is a major part of our life, but seldom do we have education, or seldom do we have somebody who can go to. And what I appreciate about you in event today is a coordinated aspect of it.
Right.
Instead of having bit and pieces who then knock into one another and generate a mishandling of your funds, your money.
Right.
So you have Randy's email and website there. Feel free to visit him. I thank you very much for tuning in. See you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
This program was brought to you by Organo Gold. Organo Gold is a health and wellness company that provides healthy coffees, teas, and chocolate. All one has to do is consume the available coffee, teas, chocolate, and other products to get all the available benefits. One can also share these products with others to help them improve their health as well.